Welcome to the demonstration video for the console that has been added to Gravity Engine in release 2.0. The Gravity Engine console is motivated by some YouTube videos I watched by the developer of Braid and The Witness, Jonathan Blow. There's a link to that in the wiki page below that describes this feature. To add a console to a scene, there is a prefab now in the prefabs folder called GEConsole. And this contains all the stuff that you need for having a console in the game. It's fairly self-contained. And for the purposes of illustration, we'll go into the scenes, minigames, Earth-Moon transfer scene. And you can see that in this scene, I have already added a Gravity Engine console. It has a number of subcomponents, none of which you'll need to engage with in any detail. And then the main working element is this script that's been created, GEConsole here. So let's go ahead and start the scene. And following Jonathan Blow's example, the back quote key is bound to the console to make it appear. You press it once, you get a small console. Second time, you get a larger console. There's some transparency. You can see what's going on in the background. And you have a input bar at the bottom. And you can type question mark to get a list of the commands that are available in the current scene. Gravity Engine scenes will all have a Gravity Engine instance, so these commands will be available. And then depending on the scene, additional elements in the scene may have registered additional commands, and those will be listed in help. In this case, this scene is set up to do a transfer orbit from the Earth to the Moon, so there are some commands to assist in doing that. Those are described in more detail in the video and tutorial webpage about the lunar course correction feature, which is also new in Gravity Engine 2.0. So we can do the kinds of things you would expect to be able to do with a console. We can pause the scene, pause or P. We can restart it with go. If we want to move it forward a step at a time, we can do that. We will pause the scene again. If we type dump, we get a listing of the internal states of all of the Gravity Engine elements. So there are massive bodies, massless bodies, fixed bodies. In this case, the low station is in a Kepler orbit, so it's regarded as a fixed body within the engine itself. You can also see mass scale, time scale, current time, all very useful information if you're debugging something. If you want to look at the details of a particular object, for example, if we do info and then the name of the game object, in this case Moon, you get a bunch of information, the transform position in the scene, the internal physics coordinates of the object, and velocity. Similarly, those position velocity values, but in the scaled units and also in SI units, so meters, kilograms, seconds. There is also the ability to control the time, so if we type go again, if we want things to move a little faster, we can type Z5 to time zoom 5, Z1 to come back to 1. Now, to just peek under the hood a little bit, let's have a look at the Gravity Engine console code. So here's the Orbit MG controller. So in order to add commands in the start method of the Orbit MG component, we need to call this add console commands, and we just do GEConsole register commands if console. This can always be called. It will check that if there's a console in the scene, and if there is not, it will just do nothing. And then what we're adding are specific commands defined by classes that extend the GEConsole command class. So here, for example, for the Moon transfer command, we have a Moon transfer class, extends GEConsole command. It has a constructor, which takes a reference to the class that's adding the command, and that's so that the run method has a way to link back to it. And we define some standard values. We define the name of this command and some help for this command. And if you look at the GEConsole command class definition, it's an abstract class, but it does have some member variables that we need to fill in: a name, help, And then there's a declaring class, which is populated automatically, and that allows us to order the help strings by class. And then the one method we must implement is the run method. So in the case of the Orbit MG controller, the run method just checks that the arguments are what it expects to get, parses the argument, and then makes reference to the class that registered it and calls within that class the command that you want to execute. So this could be some debug code, this could be some logging code. It's a very useful way to investigate how the new code you're writing is behaving without having to add arbitrary UI elements or commands. And that concludes our summary of the Gravity Engine console. I hope you find it useful. Thanks for watching.